episode 199 of the Wheatley podcast. Pretty sure I said that the wrong way around, but you know what I meant. This last one I said one before the 100. And we move on to the next 100, the century, which is exciting. Thanks very much to Mika for coming on last week, talking about documentary Hungry Hill and all the kind of the tough aspect of being a farmer in the Beara Peninsula, as we can all only ever imagine how life can be quite that tough from day to day. But hopefully Hungry Hill will become more available for people to see, because it's a must-watch regards to documentaries, and leads in beautifully to our episode this week, which is all about films and a bit of a follow-up on the song one we did. You can support us on Buy Me a Coffee if you like. You don't have to, obviously. Never feel obliged, but the link is in the description if you wish to do so. You're following the instructions. I don't even know how to do it. I just set it up, and but people have been very kind. Yeah, this episode was requested, and I have well, Joanne mentioned it, but I don't know if this was a kind of case of me really wanting to complete some sort of a trilogy of songs. This one's called 41 Years, 41 Films. We already did the 41 Years, 41 Songs. And I'd love to do 41 Years, 41 Books, but I honestly think that could go on for too long. So I probably won't do that. But I do know more about films and music than I do books. It is fair to say. So, yeah, it wasn't as difficult to do this as it was the song one. And it's because, if you love a band, they have 5 albums. They've got 12 songs per album. If my maths are correct, they have 60 songs. Then you've got to pick, 3 or 4 of them from over the years, and then pick the famous one or your favorite one, and that's out of a list of one band. And there's artists and all that as well. So yeah, this was a little bit easier. You will notice that certain directors do pop up quite a bit, because I'm a big fan of these certain directors, and I'll mention them when we go. There's also certain films in it where the director may not be my favorite person, but I felt that I should mention the films because they're very important to my film education, but also, well, it's the whole argument. I'm not getting into it now, but the art versus even the artist, and yeah, I'll mention it. But if you don't know what I'm talking about, 41 years, that's how many years I've been born. So we're going from 1982 right through to 2023. It's the same as the songs in the sense that some years were bumper year for film, and then some were not so good, and there'll only be 4 or 5 films for me to get through. I didn't want to just throw in any films that I enjoyed rather than loved. I wanted to put in the ones I really loved. And again, just another disclaimer: some that I pick as my favorite of the year are more to do with maybe their significance culturally, or maybe to do with my own personal times in my life, and maybe the times I watch the films with people I watch them with, etc., etc. So if anybody says to me, I can't believe you didn't have Sunset Boulevard in it, it's from 1982, and I'm not that old. Okay, so anyway, 1982. We have The Thing, which is a horror film that some of you might know. White Dog by Sam Fuller, a very strange one about a very vicious dog who's a bit racist. The Verdict with Paul Newman. Or no, hang on. No, it is Paul Newman, sorry. Smithereens, which is kind of an indie film that I only recently saw. And Fitzcarraldo, which there is a documentary made about Fitzcarraldo. Werner Herzog made Fitzcarraldo with his friend. Anyway, I'll get back to it. And they decided that out in Africa, maybe it was Central America, they decided to pull one of those huge cruise liners over a hill. The documentary is incredible. The film was really good as well, but the documentary is probably better. Kinski is the name of his mate. They didn't like each other, but apparently they worked with each other in loads of films. But the winner of that year is a little bit underseen Martin Scorsese film, King of Comedy. If you don't know what that is essentially what they did with Joker in 2019. Was that when that came out? Well, it's kind of a mixture Taxi Driver and King of Comedy, but Robert De Niro plays Rupert Pupkin. I'm having trouble. Um, and he is incredible in the role of a guy who wants to be a comedian, and he will go into any lengths it will be to become a comedian. And is he that funny? Probably not. But I've seen people describe the film and say that he actually is very funny, but I don't know if that's an intentional thing. But the King of Comedy, if you haven't seen it, check it out. It's genius. 1983. We have The Big Chill, probably the best film about a group of friends getting together and having a good time. We have Stranger Than Paradise, a road trip film, Jim Jarmusch. The Outsiders, which is one of those ones where Tom Cruise was in and the Brat Pack and all that came from, based on S.E. Hinton's book. Really, and could I impress people? Do you mind if I impress you? I don't have these notes written down in front of me, so I'm just remembering from what I did. Every time I watch a film, I try to look it up and see where it came from and who's in it and all these kind of stuff. And some of this stuff might be wrong. It's just coming out of my head. I do know that S.E. Hinton wrote it because I have the book, but it's actually a really good film from that year. Trading Place is a classic, Eddie Murphy. One of those films I watched with my brothers over and over again, and we loved it. And probably watched it more than most films, I would say. It's really good. Jamie Lee Curtis is in it. She's great in it. The Right Stuff, which is a film about space travel, but on Earth. If that makes any sense. But they're thinking about going to space. And it's to be honest, it's quite a long film and it can be quite dry in places, but it is actually really good. The Dresser, which is an English film. Tell me who it stars. Tell me who it stars off the top of your head. Oh, what is that guy's name? So it's basically a two-hander. I'm sure it's based on a play. I keep thinking Terence Stamp, but Terence Stamp isn't in it. The guy who was in the long distance runner, Billy Liar. Sorry. It doesn't matter. It's okay. Go and look it up. It's a really great film. But the film that wins it is Terms of Endearment. I'm recording this a few days before it comes out. I shared this as my film of the week. It is a real tearjerker. Jack Nicholson, Shirley MacLaine, Deborah. Why am I thinking of Messing Winger? Jeff Daniels. Really great film, but it is a proper tearjerker, and it's 100% 80s as well. But Shirley MacLaine and Jack Nicholson are great at it. That's a must watch. Jack Nicholson won an Oscar for it, I'm pretty sure. So that won it for that year. 1984, Blood Simple, the first Coen Brothers film. Brilliant. Also, Frances McDormand makes her entrance into Hollywood lore. I think she won 3 Academy Awards now. The Killing Fields, I learned more about Pol Pot in Cambodia from that film than just about, well, definitely from history books in school and stuff like that. But again, obviously it's a heavy subject, but it's probably essential viewing, really. Amadeus, all about Mozart and Amadeus, who's very jealous of him. It's a long film, but it's very funny and very good. The Terminator, some might be surprised that's in there. There's not many action films, I'll be totally honest. But the original Terminator is in there. This is Spinal Tap, the greatest film, the funniest film ever made. I would probably say so. Just, there's a line in it that we talked about when we were kids, not when we were kids, but when we were teenagers about, there's a line where they have an album come out and they're kind of on the slide at this point, and the critics are giving them a hard time, and they're having an album come out and it's called Shark Sandwich. And the guy says, well, we got a review in here from such and such from whatever. 2 words, shit sandwich. And I don't know why, but that will always be funny to me. There's loads of very funny stuff in it. They're doing the song Stonehenge, and they want the stones on the stage with them, and they're made to tiny, very small size instead of the size they want. And it's brilliant. And there's this thing about where they come down in these pods, and the bass player gets trapped in the pod and he plays the song in the pod. And this actually happened to U2 in 1998 in, I think it was Norway. And they were coming out in that large, lemon, and the lemon didn't open and they had to climb out the back, and it was very Spinal Tap. Stop Making Sense, a concert film. Talking Heads, it counts. I don't care. It's a film. It was made by Jonathan Demme, and he made Silence of the Lambs. So I uh, take your argument somewhere else. It's brilliant. It's the best concert film ever made. And here's the first of the director I'm not a fan of. Broadway, Danny Rose by Woody Allen. I actually love the film. I first watched it and maybe not quite paying attention to who was in it, who was playing the lead role, the female lead, and she's almost unrecognizable. It's Mia Farrow, and she is so good in the lead. But the winner of that year, and this is in probably my top 20, possibly my top 15, Paris, Texas, the Wim Wenders film, about a guy who goes missing, and when he comes back, he's mute, and his brother picks him up he walks out of the desert basically, and his brother picks him up, and it goes from there. It's just brilliant. It's like, I don't like to use genius all the time, but that and Stop Making Sense are genius with regards to films. 1985, a slower year. We have Martin Scorsese's After Hours, very underseen Martin Scorsese film. I recently just got it on Blu-ray. I haven't rewatched it yet, but very happy to have a copy of it. Ran by my favorite film director, Akira Kurosawa, who directed so many amazing films from the 40s on. But Ran is an adaptation of King Lear, and it's as in samurai times Japan, and it's as epic as it sounds. Witness with Harrison Ford, and when he disappears into the Amish community. Kiss of the Spider Woman. I don't even know if I got that film, but it's very good. William Hurt is in it. He won an Oscar for it. It's a really good, and so is the guy. And I feel bad for forgetting his name, but the guy who played Gomez Adams is in it, and he plays his cellmate. But the most important film of the year, really, it's hard to call it the best, but it's definitely the most important one, and it got it for me, was Shoah. It's a 9-hour documentary about the concentration camps in Nazi Germany and in Poland, and it's told from the survivors' point of view. It's obviously, like, it's 9 hours about that. It's a tough watch, but it's probably the most culturally important documentary of the last 50 years. So, I have to put it top of the list. And I look, you can't say you enjoyed that. I didn't enjoy it, but I learned a lot about it. So yeah, Shoah. 1986, Blue Velvet, David Lynch, with the the psychopathic turn by Dennis Hopper as the dude with the mask, whatever he's inhaling and going off on one, and it's weird. All David Lynch's films are weird. Down by Law, another Jim Jarmusch film, starring Tom Waits, and also kind of introducing me to Tom Waits' music with Jockey Full of Bourbon as the opening song on the film over the titles. I think Ellen Barkin is in it, well, from what I remember, but it's about 3 fugitives on the run. It's actually, yeah. I'm going to stop saying it's actually good. Obviously, I have it on the list. Hannah and Her Sisters, again, Woody Allen, but I don't know. I'm not a fan of Michael Caine, but I actually think he's really good in this, and I think Barbara Hershey is really good in it. It's a great cast. Platoon, the best Vietnam-based war film, probably. It has its moments of just awfulness, but it's great. River's Edge, Dennis Hopper appears again, about a group that want to see a dead body, very much like another film that I will mention. She's Gotta Have It. Was it Spike Lee's debut? It could have been, or maybe it's a second film, but it's really good, and it's so fresh and different than anything else at the time. And it goes to show what Spike Lee would go on to do, because one of the most original directors ever. But it's great. But like I just mentioned, Dead Bodies, my film of 1986. This one's for you, Joanne. And she literally just texted me this the other day, and I'd already written this out. This is a fact. Stand By Me. Again, myself and my brothers watched it over and over when we were young. And it's not one that's hard to understand. You can put yourself in the place of these kids, and I think it's very well acted, by the way, but by all of them. River Phoenix is normally pointed out as the one that stands out, but I think they're all really great. And that bullying by older brothers, yeah, I know all about that. I know, but it's not quite to those levels. But it's great. And I just want to also mention the worst film. This is the only time I'll mention a bad film on this list. The worst film was made in this year. The worst film of all time was made in this year. And if anybody follows this podcast, they'll know exactly what's coming next. Ferris Bueller's Day Off was made in this year. So it nearly knocks all the goodness out of the year for me. It's that bad. It is, there's no argument over. The only argument we can have is how bad it is. You can say, yeah, I don't like it, but it's not the worst film of all time. I can get that. For me, it's the worst film of all time. What you can't come and say is, it's all right, or it's, I like it. I don't want to hear it. The water. Excuse me. Next up, 1987, Quiet Year. Another Vietnam film. It was very popular in 1980s Vietnam. Full Metal Jacket by the great Stanley Kubrick. I like it. I probably prefer the scenes at the start with Private Pile and the huge bullying aspect of and the training camp rather than when they get to Vietnam. But it's a great film. Broadcast News. It's great, isn't it? Have you seen it? William Hurt, uh, Holly Hunter. It's so good. Wings of Desire, another Wim Wenders film about an angel circling Berlin. It is Berlin, isn't it? And then Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds are in it out of nowhere playing in a bar. Like, that's pretty cool. It's very random, but it's cool. Raising Arizona, the Coen brothers once again. But the winner of 1987 is Whitney and I. We want, what's it? We want a bottle of your finest wine, and we want it now. When they're in the cafe, in the scones, and all the elderly people around them. Richard E. Grant, obviously, really, his star turn kind of made him then. 1988, we've got The Thin Blue Line. It's an Errol Morris documentary about, it's kind of a real life kind of mystery. You feel like you're the detective on the mystery, and it's got these kind of, it's well before its time, and Netflix is only making documentaries like this now, but you're kind of wondering, like, how will they catch this person? Someone was arrested wrongfully for an incident, and then they're trying to figure out how, and then they might have some recorded evidence. It's so good. I love it. I bought a box set of his documentaries just to see that, but to be fair, they were all pretty good. Actually, one of them is about a pet cemetery. That was kind of a strange one. Not about the horror, but an actual pet cemetery. Rain Man, we all know that one. Tom Cruise and Dustin Hoffman. Mississippi Burning, great. Do you know who's great in that? I just mentioned her a minute ago. Frances McDormand. She's great in that. And my old friend. I'm already starting to lose. I'm already starting to lose time. Who am I thinking of? Gene Hackman. Sorry. Coming to America. Another one we used to watch over and over again when we were kids. Eddie Murphy again. Arsenio Hall. I remember we had seen the version where it's the bad language and all that, and then one time we saw the ITV version, because ITV were great for censoring and putting out films there, and myself and my brothers remember the censored words over the actual curses. So I think he says "scream" or "freeze you motherfucker," whatever it is. And in the censored version, he says "freeze you diseased rhinoceros pizzle." I don't know why they would change it to that. Like, why would it not change it sort of easier? But we remember the censored words instead of the actual curse words. It was more fun. And what won for that year, I watched this 3 times in very close succession because it's like a soap opera in an hour and a half. It's called Women on the Verge of a Nervous Breakdown. It's by Pedro Almodovar. He'll come up a couple more times in the list. Spanish director, brilliant director. One of my favorites, very camp and bright and overly acted in places, and this film's the same. I do think it's his best film, but yeah, for this year I would have that as the winner. 1989, Crimes and Misdemeanors. Sorry, Woody Allen again. Mystery Train, Jim Jarmusch again. A kind of film told over 3 parts, 3 different stories. Roger and Me, which is the documentary by Michael Moore about his factory closing in his hometown in Flint. and he goes to interview people about it and try to interview the bosses. As far as I can remember, it's been a while, but it's a great documentary. Glory, about a black regiment in the uh, War of Independence, isn't it, in America? Is it? Is it? I think it is. And Denzel Washington won his first Oscar for it, but it's really good, even though Matthew Broderick's in it. I know, I'm only joking. I don't have a thing for him. It's just the the what's his face, Ferris Bueller. My left foot. I was thinking about this there today. Actually, is this one that stands up, or it like? I mean, Daniel Day Lewis is brilliant in the role, but does it stand up? Did we respect it when we were kids, or did we? Are we were we being mean about it in the sense of did we respect the fact that this man Christy Brown was able to produce such brilliant work with what he had, just having the left foot, or were we just dickheads when we were young and we tried to do the voice and mimic and stuff? I'd say we were just dickheads. Um, I need to watch it again. I have it in the room there. And I probably watched it about 10 years ago, but like Daniel Day Lewis is great in it. Uh, and also I want to throw in there Parenthood. Probably the first time I saw Joaquin Phoenix on film, one of my favorite actors, and there's all sorts of people in this. Diane Wiest, Steve Martin, Keanu Reeves. It's brimming with talent, and I love it. We watched it when we were kids. Um, if you haven't seen it, go and watch it. Rick Moranis in it? I think he might be. Um, I mean, he was in all 80s films, so he must be. And the winner for 1989, Do the Right Thing, Spike Lee. Oh, if you haven't seen that, apparently it caused riots in cinemas. I don't believe those kind of stories, but it's great. It's brilliant. 1990. There's only one winner for this, but if you don't know it, I'll fill you in. Miller's Crossing is in there. Coen Brothers film again. Gabriel Byrne, brilliant. The Grifters. Again, I knew this. I love this film, but I couldn't tell you what it's about because it's been so long. But I know if I went back into it, I'd love it again. Life is Sweet. Mike Leigh, so good. And Mike Leigh is one of my favorites. He pops up a few times in this list. Misery. I mean, how can you not be afraid of Kathy Bates in this film? We watched a lot when we were young. Wild at Heart, David Lynch appears again. Something to do with the Wizard of Oz, but I can't work it out. Um, but we've talked about it before on here. But it's great. The winner is Goodfellas, obviously. Can you imagine at the Oscars, Dances with Wolves won over this? That's incredible. I have nothing against Dances with Wolves. I think it's a very good achievement by Kevin Costner. But come on. 1991, Barton Fink, Coen Brothers again. Imagine being on this hot of a streak. I love Barton Fink. It's so good. Terminator 2 is in there. Yes, another action film. These probably start to run out pretty soon. Those effects. When we were, watching this for the first time, we were whatever, 10, 12. Those effects were outrageous. And they still look great. The remake of Cape Fear, very underrated film, Martin Scorsese. Robert De Niro, absolute psychopath in it. Boys in the Hood, we watched a lot when we were young. It still stands up, co-written by John Singleton and Ice Cube. We have The Commitments, Roddy Doyle's novel, just great. And me and my brothers loved music, so it was like the perfect combination of a film about music and great music itself. Bugsy with Warren Beatty, there's a couple of scenes where he humiliates people and he's just a bastard. And it took me a while to respect Warren Beatty after that, even though he was playing a part. But it's a true story. Thelma and Louise, we all know this one. I don't need to go any further. It's great. The winner, Silence of the Lambs. It won everything at the Oscars, deserved to. It's one of the greatest horror films, one of the greatest psychological films, some of the greatest acting of all time. Directed beautifully by Jonathan I'm struggling. Jonathan Demme. 1992, The Crying Game. I'm not going to spoil it in case you haven't seen it, but if you've seen Ace Ventura and you've heard when the Crying Game song comes in, you might start to figure things out. Unforgiven, Clint Eastwood's Western, beautiful in scope, but Gene Hackman, bastard in it. Glengarry Glen Ross, which I have always taken ABC from it, always be closing. I love the fact that Jack Lemmon's character, I don't watch The Simpsons. I hate when people refer to The Simpsons to me because I don't know what they're talking about. But I know that really the sales guy in it, the real pathetic sales guy, I'm sure he based that a little bit on Jack Lemmon's character from that film. Um, Alec Baldwin's a bastard in it. Al Pacino's great in it. Alan Alda's not Alan Alda. I always mix them up. No, doesn't matter. It's great. Where am I? Where am I? Glengarry Glen Ross. Yeah, I thought that was like an Irish film when I first heard about, but it's not. Man Bites Dog. It's a Belgian crime film. Great. Sorry, I don't have any names of the actors to reel off. Husbands and Wives. I know. Woody Allen again. The Player. Robert Altman. Tim Robbins leads it, but it's packed full of stars, like all Robert Altman's films are. It's about film. It's on a film based set on a film lot as well, and it's cool. And there's some really cool Easter eggs with regards to cameos in it as well. Malcolm X, Spike Lee's film about Malcolm X, obviously starring Denzel Washington. There's a scene where the camera's pointing up at Denzel Washington and he's walking down a street in his suit. And obviously they're working in a certain way where he's on a walkway, a walk machine, treadmill, is that what they're called? And it looks like he's floating. And it's the first time I've ever seen anyone use that technique. I've seen it since, but it was gorgeous. And yeah, it's great. It's long, but it's great. Speaking of long film about a famous person, Chaplin, starring Robert Downey Jr., another one where I don't know much about Robert Downey Jr. I've seen a few of his films, but he's great in that. He's so good in that. Romper Stomper, probably my introduction to Russell Crowe over there in Australia, being a racist thug and with his gang. But the winner is Reservoir Dogs. It's my favorite Quentin Tarantino film. Poster behind me, and I don't know, it's just great. So well told. I love the way it flicks in between scenes and stuff. And the opening conversation is one of my favorite. Up there with like White Men Can't Jump. Did I put that in any list? If I didn't, it should be. Did it come out in 92? I'll put that in 92 there. White Men Can't Jump as well. Sorry. But yeah, the opening conversations in that is great as well. 1993, Schindler's List. Spielberg is not a favorite of mine, but that's obviously a very important film. Groundhog Day, brilliant, funny, clever. Naked by Mike Leigh, where what's his name? Twistle. I can never pronounce his name. He walked around the streets of London. Yeah. No, it's not. Doesn't matter. He basically walks around philosophizing about the world, and it's so good. And he's a prick as well. The Piano, which I already mentioned, Holly Hunter, another directed by another terrible human being, Roman Polanski. No, it's not. Sorry, I'm thinking of The Pianist. That's my bad. Jane Campion directs that. True Romance, written by Quentin Tarantino, directed by Tony Scott, Ridley's brother. The first appearance by Brad Pitt as a big stoner in that film. In the Name of the Father, we all know that over this side of the world. It's brilliant. Daniel Day-Lewis is great. Pete Postlethwaite is great. Three Colors Blue, which is a trilogy of colored three colors films, obviously. So it's one white, red, blue. I really like the blue, and I've put that in here. I can't pronounce the director's name, and I really apologize for that. And the winners is Shortcuts. It is Robert Altman, once again, who I just mentioned doing The Player. Shortcuts is another one where he stuffs loads and loads of characters in to make a story. But Raymond Carver is the writer. He took 8 of his short stories, one of his poems, threw them all into one film and made those stories and tried to create a film, that melded together a little bit. And he did. Downey Jr.'s in it as well, actually. Chris Penn's in it. Tim Robbins, Julianne Moore. I could go on. I won't. 1994, Pulp Fiction. I mean, I suppose it'd be top of most people's list, but it's not top of mine. It is brilliant, though. I go back to it a good bit. Clerks, Kevin Smith, independent, done very cheap, became very, very big, very quotable. Dumb and Dumber, I can't have a list with Dumb and Dumber. My brothers and I were that's not the correct way of using the term, but myself and my brothers were such good big fans of Dumb and Dumber. We can quote it all. Quiz Show, Martin Scorsese's in it. He didn't direct it though. It's about true story. It's a true story about a dodgy scam that went on about a quiz show. It's really good. John Turturro is in it. Go and watch it. That's all I can say. It's good. I think, did Robert Redford direct it? I don't know why he's in my head again. Get out of there, Robert, handsome bastard. But the winner is The Shawshank Redemption. I saw it when roughly after it came out, and for a long time it was my favorite film. Now it has dropped down a fair bit, but it's still such a good film to dip in and out of. It's so good. There's nothing bad to say about it. 1985, we have Seven. We all know Seven. Lots of murders. Really good. The Usual Suspects. Kevin Spacey, unfortunately, is in it. Benicio del Toro, I love his character in it. My screensaver on my phone is a picture of footsteps, and they are going crooked, 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 and then they straighten up. And I don't think anybody's copped on what it means yet, but someday somebody will see that screen and go, "Oh, Usual Suspects, is it?" And that person will be my best friend for life. Heat, Robert De Niro and Al Pacino in the same film. Q Frenzy. Le Haine, which is a French film, a crime film. Vincent Cassel is great in that film. It's dark as anything. My friends in Dublin got me into that. Kids, again, we'll talk about dark films. Larry Clark, a director who makes disturbing films, and this is one of them. But it's good. To Die For, Nicole Kidman's in it. Joaquin Phoenix, about a director roughly based on a true story as well. And it's about a director who's our weather forecaster who seduces a couple of guys and gets them to do something bad. Gus Van Sant directed it. That's why I was stalling there. I was trying to think who it was. 1996, we have Train Spotting, Scottish Erwin bit film. Secrets of the Lies, maybe my favorite. No, my second favorite Mike Leigh film. It took me years to see it and find it, and I found it, and I thought, Jesus, that was worth the wait. Hard Eight, which is Paul Thomas Anderson's first feature film, he'll pop up quite a lot in this list. Pusher, which is a Danish crime film. There's a Pusher trilogy. They get steadily worse in quality, but the first Pusher is great. It was the films that brought us Mads Mikkelsen. Sling Blade, which is about, Billy Bob Thornton won an Oscar for screenplay for it. He also acts in it, and he's excellent in it. And there's a family called Wheatley in it, and the only two films I've ever heard that my surname in is Sling Blade and Napoleon Dynamite. They have Wheatley families in it. So there you go. Take that fact with you. Paradise Lost, The Child Murders at Robin Hood Hills, a documentary which I'll mention again in the coming years, but it's a trilogy that is just insane. And it's the greatest, kind of crime documentary I've ever seen. And they've made films since then. West of Memphis was one which they made on the case. And it's such a dark case, but it's crazy. One of those ones, wrongfully convicted people and that. Bound by the Wachowskis. It's they made The Matrix after it, but Bound is their best film. When We Were Kings, another documentary. This one about Muhammad Ali and Rumble in the Jungle. Is it Spike Lee? I think it is. Lone Star, which is set in Texas, and it's about these sheriffs. And I'm not going to go too much more into detail because I would get the facts wrong. But I know when I saw it on TV, I thought that's a great film. But the winner is Fargo. Frances McDormand wins her first Oscar, and rightly so. The Coen brothers, funny and cold, and yeah, it's a very popular cult film, if you know what I mean. That doesn't make sense, but it's really popular and it's a cult at the same time. 1997, Boogie Nights, Paul Thomas Anderson again. It's about the porn industry, and it's like Robert Altman, where he just throws every star he can at and makes these incredible films. There's a party sequence in it where he follows in and out of the house and outside, and it's so well done. You think you're just knocking around. Jackie Brown, Tarantino again, probably lesser watched than the big ones like Pulp Fiction, but equally as good and as important. Just a different genre. Funny Games. Funny Games is the one. It's directed by Michael Haneke. It's the first film where I noticed that somebody breaks the fourth wall. They look at the viewer and they rewind the film. While you're watching the film, they rewind to do it over. That's madness. I've never seen it before. I've seen some people try to do it since, but never like this. We've got The Sweet Hereafter, which is Asham Eguin. I always get his name wrong, but it's about the after effects of a bus crash which school kids are killed in. And as you can imagine, it's dark. Cube, which you only saw in the last couple of years, and it's about people who are going to die if they don't get out of this puzzle game. And it's obviously it's a horror, but it's good. Gross Point Blank with John Cusack. Can you be in love with someone who's basically an assassin? And Nil by Mouth. God, how do you describe this film? Ray Winston's in it, and it's very difficult to watch. Probably one of the hardest films to watch on this whole list. The winner goes to The Ice Storm, which myself and my brothers loved. Um, and Sigourney Weaver's in it, and Christina Ricci and Elijah Wood, and it's set around the time basically an ice storm, obviously. But all this the first time I ever saw adults throwing keys in a bowl. I was like, "What's going on there?" And I was like, "Oh, that's what they're doing." 1998, Rushmore, which is Wes Anderson's first appearance in the list. American History X, the bit where Edward Norton does the curbing. Is it called curbing? Is that right? Have you seen it? That's a hard bit to watch. The Thin Red Line is war all about philosophy, or is philosophy all about war? That's what I got from it. No, I just made that up. But it's very talky for a war film, but it's really good. Um, Buffalo 66. I've been forever stained by Buffalo 66, where Christina Ricci really has to go to the toilet at the beginning of this film. And her partner in it, what's her partner's name in it? He directed it as well. Ah, Jesus. Vincent Gallo. Um, he won't let her. And while I'm watching it, and I watched it again not so long ago, I felt I had to go to the toilet, and he wouldn't let her. Angelica Houston's in it as well. Actually, it's really good. Happiness, Todd Solondz. Please don't watch this. Don't let me be the one that recommended this film. Festen, again, it's a Danish film about secrets at a birthday party for a lot of people, and the tension is great. Out of Sight, George Clooney and Jennifer Lopez in a car boot together. What more do you need? Ring, the original Japanese horror film, terrifying. A Simple Plan, Billy Bob Thornton. Again, plays kind of is he an idiot? I don't know if he's an idiot or not. But they find a plane with loads of money in it, and then they have the moral conundrum of what to do. Hang on for 1 second. Sorry, I just don't want to blow my nose in front of you. Affliction, where Nick, no, is it Nolte? Yeah, I think it is Nolte, and his father, the son father thing. Jack Palance. No, who's it? I wish I brought my phone with me because then I could Google this stuff. But it's good. The Truman Show, we've probably all seen it, but it's very unique and good. He Got Game is an underrated Spike Lee film. Denzel's there. One of my favorite music documentaries, Meeting People is Easy. It's about Radiohead, and it's about trying not to meet people, basically. The winner is The Big Lebowski. I go back to my friends Macca, Bones, and Welly, and I smoke some weed, and we watch The Big Lebowski over and over again, and we just love it. And there's so many references and quotes, so it reminds me of my friends. So what more can you ask for? 1999, Being John Malkovich, strange but brilliantly strange. The fact that John Malkovich allowed this to happen, and then he stars and obviously as well, but it's like, was it always being John Malkovich, or did he have someone else, another actor there, and he called it that, and then John Malkovich auditioned, or what was it? What was the birth of this film? But it's, yeah. Magnolia, Paul Thomas Anderson, sprawling Robert Altman-esque. I feel bad because I told Joanne this is my favorite of the year, but it's not. I thought it was the one I put a line under. It isn't. You will find out in a minute. All About My Mother, Pedro Almodovar again. Audition, a Japanese film where there's a scene where there's some pins used, and Office Space. Imagine, because it was built this. It's a Mike Judge film, and it's built as this don't we all work here? But imagine we did the stuff that the boys get up to and the shit that goes wrong. Really good. The Insider with Al Pacino and Russell Crowe. very much a parallax view kind of Warren Beatty style film. Election, which stars Reese Witherspoon and again Matthew Broderick's back, but that's really good film. It's directed by Alexander Payne, who's done some great stuff since. That's probably his best. Ratcatcher, Scottish film with Lynn Ramsey, the director, who's going to pop up again a couple of times in this list. It's dark and grim and set in a council estate in Scotland, but it's real life. It's kitchen sink stuff, you know. Man on the Moon, where Jim Carrey plays Andy Kaufman. I really like it. I do. Three Kings. Who's that by? That's by. He's in the video. Fat Boy Slim's video for Praise You. Spike Jonze. Yeah, he made that with Three Kings with George Clooney and Ice Cube and Mark Wahlberg. Set in the Iraq War. American Movie, a documentary about these dudes who are trying to make a movie all their lives, and he goes back and wants to remake it, and it's funny. It's unintentionally funny at times, but it's funny. Summer of Sam, true story. Spike Lee, about the murder in California or San Francisco. Anyway, The Sixth Sense, one of the great horror films of all time, but the winner and arguably the greatest indie horror film of all time, The Blair Witch Project. I picked it over Magnolia because I saw it on my own in the States. The way they decided to make it and put it out there and market it, it's to me it's brilliant, and it's scary. And there's no way this episode is going to be an hour long. I just looked at it. I'm only on 2000. I have a lot of years left. 2000. We have Memento. Watch it on rewind, and you'll see it in the normal way. I don't know what I'm talking about. It's a film that goes in reverse, basically, is what I'm saying. But it's great. Requiem for a Dream, which was mentioned in this podcast before as one of somebody's worst film. Was it Martin Hickey said it was one of the worst films he's ever seen? That's a remarkable statement. Sexy Beast, Sir Ben Kingsley, if you want to call him Sir, plays, he's so good now. Ray Winston's in it as well. Best in Show, mockumentary. Christopher Guest from Spinal Tap is the man behind this one. You Can Count on Me, a very independent family. What's the dude who's in it? Who's Laura Linney's in it, and her brother in it is Mark Ruffalo. But it's, I think one of the Culkins is the young boy in it. It's good. Wonder Boys is another one that's kind of Michael Douglas is in it, and it's based on a Michael Chabon novel, and it's good. It's funny. Tobey Maguire's in it. He's quite good in it. Amoras Piros, that's Gonzalo Iñárritu made this before he made things like The Revenant and Birdman and stuff like that. This is set in Mexico, and a lot of things happen in the film. It jumps around a bit, but it's fantastic. The Filth and the Fury, a documentary about the Sex Pistols by Julian Temple. Paradise Lost 2, Revelations. That's obviously the follow-up to what I was talking about in 1996. The winner of this one is High Fidelity, mainly because music means a lot to me, but also because John Cusack is great. But Jack Black in High Fidelity is as such a role. It's perfect. It's made for Jack Black, and I love it. And I even got some tips for music from it. 2001, we have Mulholland Drive, David Lynch just being wacko again. It's often listed as one of the greatest films of the 2000s, and I don't get it all, but I get most of it, and I enjoy it. The piano teacher Michael Haneke appears again. He's kind of a demented sort of, kind of a dark, kind of an Austrian David Lynch, a little with a bit more darkness, but it's good. There's a bit in the end though where I kind of Gosford Park. Robert Altman does Downton Abbey before, although it's the guy who wrote Downton Abbey who wrote the script, so it's understandable that he grew up that way. But it's again stuffed with all the actors of 2001 you could imagine. In the Bedroom, another one where a marriage and a parents and all those things combine to be dodgy. Training Day, Denzel Washington. That closing monologue is great. Y Tu Mama Tambien. I'm sorry to the Spanish speakers who listen to this. Apparently Venezuela is Venezuela is the second on our list for the most listens on YouTube. How has that happened? Hello, Venezuela. Sorry for pronouncing that film wrong, but that's a really good film too. You should go and watch that. It's about two young fellas who are madly in love with this woman they go traveling with, and they're, what happens? Things happen. Bamboozled then with Spike Lee. It's as a white person, it's a strange film to watch because where do we laugh and should we be laughing? And maybe that's the whole point. Or maybe he just made it for black people and they're, they can understand it better and they can definitely laugh at it. It's obviously a satire as well. But the winner is the Royal Tenenbaums. Wes Anderson triumphs. I saw it in the States on a double bill with my mom and my girlfriend at the time with Gladiator, and I hated Gladiator and I loved the Royal Tenenbaums, so that's where I'm at. So if you people who know me, they're not going to be surprised by that though. 2002 we have adaptation. Possibly my favorite. It's Kaufman who made it. He wrote it with about himself and his brother Donald, and that's what they're called. What's his first name? Charlie and Donald. And when you look at the Oscars, the screenplay is nomination is awarded to Donald and Charlie. There's no such person as Donald. It was made up for the film, but I like it. I like the way it's done. But Nicolas Cage plays them both, and he's so good in it. Punch Drunk Love, Paul Thomas Anderson appears again, making Adam Sandler watchable, which is, in itself is a task. Talk to Her is Pedro Almodovar again. Far From Heaven, which is Julianne Moore. It's a copy, or it's a takeoff on All That Heaven Allows, the older film All That Heaven Allows, and it's kind of shot in the 50s style, and the costumes are 50s. It's really nice, but it's about Julianne Moore falling for a black gardener, and obviously that is not, at the time, would not be allowed, and it's a love story, obviously. Morven Caller, where Lynn Ramsey appears again, this time bringing Samantha Morton to our screens. About a girl who does a bad thing and disappears, and you kind of, as you're watching her, you're thinking, does she remember she did a bad thing? I don't know. The Lord of the Rings, Two Towers. A lot of people will be surprised that that's in there. The other two didn't get in, but this did leave a mark on me. That Battle of Helm's Deep is yeah, it's great. And Insomnia with Dustin. Who was it? It's like I'm talking to someone. Who was it? Sorry, Insomnia with Al Pacino. Jesus. Al Pacino and Robin Williams is the villain, and he's actually very good. It's a remake, by the way, of a Scandinavian film. I can't quite remember if it's Swedish or Danish, probably Norwegian. But the winner, is Bowling for Columbine, a really important film by Michael Moore. It's tough to watch. I like Marilyn Manson's interview in it. It's very, very sensible. 2003, Kill Bill Volume 1. It's way better than its sequel. Mystic River, very, very dark, Clint Eastwood, but Sean Penn is great. Now, I know people don't like him anymore, but he's great. Now, American Splendor, another film where my friend Bones recommended it to me, and Paul Giamatti's in it, and he just walks off the set sometimes, and the camera goes with him, and he's just off the set talking to the guy who plays him. Who he's playing in the film, who's a cartoonist. It's great. It's weird, but it's great. The Corporation, which is a documentary about greed and capitalism. Capturing the Freedmans, which is unfortunately is a documentary about child predators, but it's really captivating stuff. But obviously, you really want to kick the shit out of the people in it. Dogville, one of the first films I've seen where the set is not there; it's just chalk lines on a floor of different things like houses and stuff, so there's nothing to walk through. And Lars von Trier made it, didn't he? I think. Nicole Kidman's in it. It's really good. But the winner is Old Boy. If you haven't seen Old Boy, sort yourself out. And I'm not talking about the remake by Spike Lee, because that's rubbish. I'm talking about the original Old Boy, Korean, the fight in the hallway with the hammer and just the people coming at him, and the octopus trying to eat him. Oh God, it's great. 2004, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Jim Carrey goes serious, but in a very, very good way. Downfall, where Bruno Grass plays Hitler. Yeah, it's Sideways, very funny Paul Giamatti film where he really does not want to drink Merlot. Primer is a film where the first 5 minutes you don't know what anyone's talking about because they're speaking in very scientific ways, and most of it is probably just kind of thin air because you don't really get a lot of the film, but it's really good to be along for the ride. Vera Drake, what's her name? I can never. Oh, Staunton. Yeah, Vera. No, her name's Verena. Um, yeah, go and watch it. She's helping young women in the 40s or 50s to have abortions, and it kind of catches up with her. Imelda Staunton, is it? Yeah. Um, but the winner is one of my favorite British films of all time, Dead Man's Shoes. One of my favorite films of all time. Paddy Considine plays a returning soldier to a town where his brother was picked on and he wants some revenge for it. There's a scene where he's standing on the side of the road and the car pulls over the boss of the gang. Um, and you think it's only a kick off, but Paddy Considine, it's the way he dismisses him. It's so good. And it's the tension. 2005, No Direction Home, Bob Dylan, a film by Martin Scorsese about Bob Dylan in the 60s, documentary. It's great. The Squid and the Whale, where a young Jesse Eisenberg decides to rip off Hey You by Pink Floyd and present it as his own at a concert, at like a school hall, and thinking he's not going to get caught. Youth. A History of Violence, Viggo Mortensen. Grizzly Man, the documentary where, this man thinks he's one of the bears. Excuse me. Brick, the first time I saw, what's his name? He did a Star Wars film. Oh, God, don't do this to me. It doesn't really matter, but it's his first direction. If I come back to it in a second, I will. But Joseph Gordon-Levitt's in it, and it's kind of a detective story based within a school, and it's really good. My friend Jer, who I thank at the end of every episode, recommended this to me. The documentary "The Devil and Daniel Johnston." Daniel Johnston was a musician, a very strange and alternative musician, but one nonetheless. And he got famous after Kurt Cobain wore one of his T-shirts. But he had a lot of mental health issues, and it's a very interesting documentary. And I don't own a copy, and I really want to get a copy. Do you have one? Junebug by Amy Adams is in this one. Really good. She's very simple in it, but it's so well done. She was nominated for an Oscar for it. Enron, The Smartest Guys in the Room. I didn't know anything about Enron when I watched this, and I loved it so much I actually bought the book that it's based from, and I read that, and I thought, these bastards. I nearly had his name. Brick. Ryan Johnson. Why couldn't I think of it? Ryan Johnson. But the film that wins it, Brokeback Mountain. It's everybody in it is really, really great. Obviously, Ang Lee's direction is really, really great. The score, the cinematography, the novel it's based off. It's just great. And I remember at the time, all the focus was on the fact that it was about two gay cowboys, and it was like, just don't take away from it. 2006, Children of Men. There's a scene in that where it's a one take shot. Curon made it. I can't remember his first name, but he did Gravity in that. And there's a single shot take where they run through kind of a war zone. It's amazing. Volver, again, Pedro Almodovar, which is Muse, Penelope Cruz. Half Nelson, Ryan. It's the first time I have a little picture of that up on my wall up there, but it's the first time I saw Ryan Gosling. He plays a drug addict teacher in it. It's good. Borat, we all know about Borat, don't we? I mean, it's one of the great comedies. Little Children, which is a novel, and I've read it, and it's a really good novel, and it was really well made as a film, and Kate Winslet is great, and so is the guy who I never remember his name, but I know he played in the remake of Nightmare on Elm Street. He played Freddy Krueger, and he's quite a distinctive looking gentleman, and he's plays a pedophile in this, and it suits him. Red Road, another a British film, Scottish film, really great, dark, but it was one of those surprise ones which I didn't expect much from, and I got a lot. But British film wins this one again. It's This Is England, about kids in the 80s, bored and looking for guidance, and unfortunately falling into the hands of horrible, horrible people and racism. 2017, No Country for Old Men. That did win the Oscar. I know that didn't win my Oscar, but it's a fantastic film. Zodiac, again, we still haven't found him. Into the Wild, the kind of a long decline into death. True story, very sad. The assassination of Jesse James. Did I even write that down right? The assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford. No need for this long of a title, but I probably liked it more than most. 4 months, 3 weeks, 2 days. It's a Romanian drama about a lady who goes off to get an abortion in the city, and it's a really tough watch, but it's a really well made film, really worth your time. Um, Oh, Control, a film about Ian Curtis, of Joy Division. I loved it. Before the Devil Knows You're Dead, Philip Seymour Hoffman, one of my favorite actors of all time. You, The Living, which is the first one I saw by Swedish director Roy Andersson, who made some mad films. But was kind of one of his funnier ones, I think. And then The Savages with Laura Linney and again Philip Seymour Hoffman, about a brother and sister kind of getting through shit together. But the winner is There Will Be Blood. It's my second favorite film of all time, so I don't need to go into it anymore. 2008, you'll be surprised to hear there's a superhero movie in here, The Dark Knight. It's more than a superhero movie, I suppose. Let the Right One In, the original Swedish version, dark as anything, vampires, excellent. Milk, about Harvey Milk, shot by a very jealous man. Slumdog Millionaire, saw in the cinema with some friends. I was introduced to MIA's Paper Planes, the song, and I love it. And she's got more records than I got a crossword puzzle about this with MIA's got more records than who, and I had to recite the lyrics. And there's a line in it which I love, which she says, "I've got more records than the KGB." So that was the answer. Lost track. Sorry. The Hurt Locker, a big winner at the Oscars that year. It's a really good war film. In Bruges, very funny. Dark as well. A very fine balance. To pull off. Speaking of a fine balance, and this wasn't planned, but that's quite a good joke and segue into Man on Wire. If you haven't seen that, about the French dude in 1974, he crossed between the Twin Towers on a tightrope. It's good. Revolutionary Road. People didn't like this. I thought it was great. Michael Shannon's in it, and he's really good in it, and I'd never seen him before. Baghead's a horror film about a guy with a bag on his head, but it's actually, again, it won't be for everyone, but that's okay. Greta Gerwig's in it, and she's done so many great things recently, including Barbie. The Visitor. Myself and my mom really liked this film. Richard. Here we go. Sometimes there's just too much. There's too much on these lists for me. Richard Jenkins. I always get it, but I hate that pause because you get a bit panicky knowing that you're being recorded. Richard Jenkins in it, and he goes back to his apartment and he finds two African refugees in it, and then it becomes a kind of a strange balancing act of, does he kick them out or does he keep them? And it's a really beautiful film. The Wrestler, Mickey Rourke, who I always call Mickey Rooney for some reason, plays a wrestler. Frozen River, where Melissa Leo, kind of in a deranged kind of role, where she tries to transport people across a frozen river from Canada to America. You should watch this though, because this is really interesting, and it's very educational on some of the Indian, sorry, I shouldn't say that, Native American laws, and I really enjoyed it for that. Rachel Getting Married. Jonathan Demme's done some mad, like he did Stop Making Sense, then he did Silence of the Lambs, then he did Rachel Getting Married, but this is a good film though. It's a very sweet film. But the winner is another British film, Happy Go Lucky, just because Sally Hawkins was like so annoying but so sweet. And it's a Wheatley film. She's so good. And I love her. I think I'm in love with her, actually. 2009, A Serious Man. I saw in the cinema. Some people walked out of it. Imagine. Coen Brothers film. Slightly different than their usual stuff, but I really enjoyed it. Inglourious Bastards. We all know that. Quentin Tarantino. The White Ribbon. Michael Haneke is back, and he's doing some weird stuff again, people. Dark as well, but it's good. The Messenger, Woody Harrelson, and I always call him. I always get his name mixed up. I'm not going to try and remember it now because I won't. Ben Foster's his name. Yes, I remembered it. They play two army officers who have to inform the people who are still alive of the departed in war situations, which imagine that job. The Informant with Matt Damon, who's so funny in it. It shouldn't be as funny as it is, really. Goodbye Solo, about a taxi driver bringing a man to what he hopes to be his last ever destination. And the driver starts to find out about it, and things happen. A conversation takes place. The Road, based on Cormac McCarthy's novel, they did a great job of this. It shouldn't be as good as it is because the novel is like perfection. In the Loop, if people haven't seen The Thick of It, the TV show, go and watch it, and then go and watch In the Loop. It's very funny. It's very aggressive. I love it. Fish Tank. Michael Fassbender was introduced to me in this film. It's really good, about a council estate in England. Sorry if I don't know the counties and the cities and all these places. I can't know everything all right. The House of the Devil, a horror film with Greta Gerwig playing a supporting role in it, but this shouldn't be good either, but it's good. The Cove, a documentary about fishing, and I should say bad fishing in Japan, where they're fishing for dolphins. The Secrets in Their Eyes, which won the best foreign language picture that year, I think, and it's an Argentinian film. They made it. Don't watch the remake, but this is really good. The winner is Dogtooth, the strangest and best film I've seen at a cinema. I went with my friend Bones to Smithfield, the cinema in Smithfield there, the Lighthouse. We had no idea of what it was going in, and it is bonkers. I'm not even going to try and describe to you what it's about. It's a Greek film, but this director will come up again later on. Yorgos Lanthimos is his name. He's kind of gone into the English language stuff now, but it's bizarre. 2010, Black Swan, big Oscar player, really good. Saw in the cinema, actually. Social Network, about Facebook. Submarine, a British film where, there's so... the British make these kind of films the best. Those kind of whack jobs, like Richard Ayoade directed it, and then kind of you can see his sense of humor in it a lot. And I love when the British make these films. Beginners, where Christopher Plummer won an Oscar for it. Ewan McGregor's in it. It's a dad dying and a son trying to be by his side. Exit Through the Gift Shop, if you haven't watched it, it's a documentary about Banksy, really interesting. Another Year. Another Mike Leigh one where, or is it? I keep saying Mike Leigh. It's not all these people. I keep saying Mike Leigh, and they're not all Mike Leigh films. This one is, but Ken Loach was some of these films, and I said Mike Leigh. I apologize. I'll get it right the next time because Ken Loach just come up again. Another Year's. It's great. Set over 4 months or 12 months or 4 time sequences. Blue Valentine with Ryan Gosling and Michelle. That's a devastating film, though, isn't it? Michelle Williams is in it. Excuse me. It's a devastating film because it's about when you fall in love and then when you fall out of love, and we've all been there, and it's very sad. Weekend, a gay one-night stand romance, beautifully told with an ending that'll make you definitely... Actually, I've skipped a year. What am I talking about? Four Lions, a British film. Christopher Morris is one of me and my brother's favourite comedians and writers, and he made Four Lions about these 4 young English lads who want to blow up the London Marathon, and shouldn't be funny, but it is. Senna, a documentary about Formula One, which I couldn't give a shit about really, but it's so well made. The winner is I'm Still Here, a documentary where Joaquin Phoenix pretends he's going to become a rapper, and it's he appears on Letterman and he doesn't talk on it, and then he goes fully into the role, and you're like, but is he doing this or is he not? You're kind of in and out thinking it's going to happen or it's not going to happen. But there's more to it. There's a lot to it, but he's very good in the role. 2011, Drive, Ryan Gosling's in it. We all know Drive, I think. Melancholia, it's a really good film about mental health, actually, and depression. And it's Kristen Stewart, not Kristen Stewart, Kristen. It doesn't matter, obviously, who's in it. She's around so long. She was in Virgin Suicides, and she was in Interview with a Vampire. You know what I'm talking about now. But she's plays the lead role in it. The Tree of Life, Terrence Malick film. A lot of people didn't like this, but I actually thought it was amazing, and I thought it was some of the stuff in the middle from, showing from the start of the universe to now was just, unbelievable. We need to talk about Kevin, based on a novel. A great film about, is our son a psychopath or is he not? And yeah, maybe he is. And Leon Shriver is the writer. But Ezra Miller plays it. He turns out to be in real life a bit of a psycho, but he plays Kevin, and Tilda Swinton plays the mother. Take Shelter, Michael Shannon. Is he paranoid or are they after him? The film Martha, Marcy, May, Marlene, about a cult, a very good film too. Elizabeth Olsen. This is Weekend, which I talked about a second ago. Tyrannosaur, a very, very dark British film about domestic abuse. This time directed by Paddy Considine, actually, starring Olivia Colman before she kind of exploded into her orbits. And Paradise Lost 3 Purgatory is the third part of that film. I love it so much I put all three parts in it. The winner is A Separation. It's a film about a couple separating in Iran and all the complications of that. It's different, obviously, to our system, and it's like a thriller. It's very, very engrossing. 2012, Django Unchained, Tarantino again. Looper with Bruce Willis and Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Again, Ryan Johnson directs this one. End of Watch, a police film about the police being shown on camera and what's going on. Jake Gyllenhaal is in it, and I probably need to watch this again because I enjoyed it so much and I never went back to it for some reason. Seven Psychopaths with our very own Colin Farrell, who's really good, but probably Sam Rockwell steals the show in it. Isn't Christopher Walken in that as well? I'm pretty sure he is. Sightseers, about a couple who they're basically going around on a murderous rampage in a funny way, like going to visit a pencil factory, or a pencil museum, I should say, and it's very odd. And a dog dies at the start, and people aren't going to hear that, but it's a really weird way that it happens. But it's a comedy by Ben Wheatley. Speaking of Wheatleys, Mud, film Matthew McConaughey. Again, I need to go back to this, but I know I enjoyed it at the time. Frances Ha, Greta Gerwig in it with her husband Noah Baumbach, who directed it, and they've made Barbie recently. But Admiral Halsey by Paul McCartney's in this film, so it gets a thumbs up. Room 2237, the best conspiratorial documentary of all time, about The Shining by Stanley Kubrick and how it's all about Native American genocide and space travel, apparently. The Hunt, a Danish film, Mad Mikkelsen. Is he a paedophile? Is he not? And the whispers that go around and how it can, even if it isn't true, how it can end someone's social life in general, well, their life, I suppose. The Act of Killing, which is about the regime in Cambodia, and it's mad because it's a British director, and he goes and he interviews the people who committed the crimes and killed the people. And he gets them to reenact it. And some of them are loving the tension and showing, oh, this is how I killed them. And then others, there's one scene where a guy, he almost like has some sort of, as if he has some sort of self-exorcism or something, where he's almost trying to get something out of his body. Like, he's not trying to get sick or something, it's something different. It's a great watch. He did do a follow-up on it. I can't remember the name. I think it was, I'll remember. And Searching for Sugar Man, which won Best Documentary that year, about a guy in South Africa. He was amazingly lauded singer, and he disappeared. Rodriguez is his name. And if you listen to the song Searching for Sugar Man, it's so good. But the winner is The Master. The Master wins because it's Paul Thomas Anderson, but because the scene when Philip Seymour Hoffman and Joaquin Phoenix sit across from each other, and they do this thing, the auditing thing that happens in Scientology, and they have this interview where they're talking for about 10 minutes, and it's the greatest two-piece of acting of all time. And I don't say that lightly. 2013, we have Her, Spike Jonze, Phoenix, River Phoenix again. Nope. Joaquin Phoenix. The Wolf of Wall Street, Scorsese again, this time with DiCaprio. 12 Years a Slave, really important film, really great film, Steve McQueen. Not that one. Gravity, who I meant, Quaron, who made it, and it was really big. And Sandra Bullock is in it, unfortunately, but look, she's good in it. Inside Llewellyn Davis, which is Cohen's again. We've got Blue Jasmine, unfortunately, it's Woody Allen, but it's really only there because what's her name? Oh God. Under the Skin. What's her name? Johansson. It's weird. By the way, that's really weird, I should say. Locke, which is my favorite Tom Hardy film, so you should go and watch that. Blackfish documentary about orcas in Disney, or not Disney, in the water parks in Florida. I'm just giving up and trying to remember things now. Blue Ruin, a film about revenge. Fruitvale Station, true story about a young black man killed in a station in the States, obviously, and what goes on around it and the lives that that they have. And a film called The East, which is a film about cult and people trying to get in with the cult to try and report on them. And it doesn't go to plan as you get. Kate Blanchett is in Blue Jasmine. That's what I was thinking of. But the winners, probably people would be surprised with this, but Prisoners, probably all seen it because it was very popular at the time. I think it's great. I think it's very watchable, and it's obviously very dark, but there's a couple of twists and turns you don't expect. And it ends with Codex by Radiohead playing on a stereo. 2014, The Grand Budapest Hotel, Wes Anderson. Boyhood, which took 15 years to make, and that's enough to put it in the list. Whiplash, about music, of course. I'm trying to speed up, I'm sorry. Gone Girl by David Fincher. I saw that in cinema. Nightcrawler, again, that was really like something like Taxi Driver. Inherent Vice, again, Paul Thomas Anderson. Every film he does is in there. Leviathan, it's a Russian film about a kind of an investigation, and it's great. It follows one of my favorite horror films of the recent years. Also, The Babadook, one of my favorites in there as well. Citizen 4, about the dude Edward Snowden. The cameras are with him, and I think it's Laura Petraeus who directed it. It's a really an espionage kind of documentary. What We Do in the Shadows, a really funny film about vampires. I don't care what my friend says. He saw it and was like, "What's this? I don't like this." They don't sound like that. Frank, where Michael Fassbender hides in a paper mache head for the whole film. Calvary, Brendan Gleeson, really good. Again, dark, funny. Selma, about the marches and civil rights marches in Selma. Ex Machina, a film about, Oscar Isaac is in it and he's trying to make robots come to life, and the poor old Don Gleeson finds out a lot. Dear White People, don't watch the TV series, just watch the film. Winter Sleep, a long Turkish film. It's really good though, but you probably look at the back and see 3 hours and not watch it. The winner is Birdman. We all know it. We don't all love it, but I think it's great. 2015, we have Carol. Kent Blanchett pops up again. Mad Max Fury Road. Another action film, I'd say. That's fair enough. It's in there. Son of Saul, an important film about World War II and death camps and what people will do, obviously, to try and get out there. Tangerine, shot on an iPhone, still incredible. Spotlight won the Best Picture that year. Michael Keaton, we know all that. We've all seen it. These are kind of films. I get into these films now where people have probably seen most of them. Steve Jobs, I really liked it. Saw in the cinema on my own. Most of these films I saw on my own in the cinema. Love and Mercy, about the Beach Boys, but mostly about Brian Wilson. And it's split into two parts. And I just love Paul Dano's representation as the young Brian Wilson. John Cusack is really good as the older, but Paul Dano in particular is pretty tremendous. Straight Outta Compton, about NWA. Probably, I think most rap fans would have seen it, but it's more people should watch it. The Lobster, this is our friend Yorgos Lanthimos who made Dogtooth. It's a read. I'm not going to tell you the storyline because you won't watch it then. You should just go and watch it. Colin Farrell's in it. Victoria, the first film I saw that was done on one take from start to finish. I do not know how they did it. It's amazing. The Revenant, I saw in the cinema with my mum actually, and I thought it was incredibly well shot. I don't know how well it holds up. I haven't gone back, but the winner for this year is the documentary. I think it's on Netflix. It's called "What Happened, Miss Simone." It's about Nina Simone. Just go watch it. She's amazing. It doesn't really matter even if it was badly shot and badly recorded. It'd still be my favorite. 2016, La La Land. We've all seen it. Arrival, probably all seen it with Amy Adams and the aliens arriving and those amazing soundscapes in the film. Now we have Ken Loach. I'm not going to put this, you've had enough films now. This is definitely Ken Loach. You made this, and it's I, Daniel Blake. It's Britain and how people need, you know, these aren't handouts; these are ways of helping people. And there's a scene at a food bank which just broke my heart, like, and it's tough. It's a tough watch, but it's kind of, you should be watching it. Manchester by the Sea. I thought Casey Affleck was really really great in it. Wiener, the documentary about the politician who sends his, unfortunately, Wiener, but his name is Wiener, but he does send pictures of his Wiener as well. So it's kind of a double entendre, if you will. Hell or High Water. I loved this when it came out. When I saw it, I haven't watched it in a while, but I should because it's great. The Salesman, which is the same guy who made Fardy is his name, is his second name. He's the same guy who made The Separation, which won for a few years back. I think this is a great film too. Not quite The Separation, but it's great. Christine, based on the true life story of Christine Chubbuck, who took her own life on live TV, which is obviously very sad, but it's really well made and sympathetically made. Um, uh, I Am Not Your Negro, which is based on the works of William Baldwin, the writer. It's obviously a great documentary. OJ Made in America. It's an 8 hour documentary. It's cut up into parts, so it might be a TV show, but it's incredible piece of work about everything that's going on at the time. And the winner is Moonlight. I saw Moonlight before. I saw it with my mum, but I saw it before that too. And I saw it up in Dublin in the cinema, and it's gorgeous. 2017, we're getting there. We're nearly there. Just hang in with me, all right? Call Me by Your Name. What's his name? Timothy Chalamet came out of that. Good Time. The guy Robert Pattinson. Lady Bird, where our very own. I'm actually forgetting names now. That's mad, isn't it? How long you can talk for, and then you start to lose names. Saoirse Ronan. The Killing of a Sacred Deer. That's Yorgos Lanthimos again. Again, the story is mad. The Square, which is a satire on the art scene, and it's really enjoyable. Jim and Andy, The Great Beyond, a documentary where they talk about the making of the Charlie Kaufman with A Man on the Moon with Jim Carrey, and he goes deep on that role, like too deep. Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. Frances McDormand again. Okja, which is a Netflix documentary co-written by the writer John Ronson. You should go watch that. Phantom Thread, which is a Paul Thomas Anderson film, just missed out on winning this. I love this, and I watched it in the cinema. I was on a date with someone, I think, and Daniel Day-Lewis was just fantastic as always. His last ever film. Icarus, which is the documentary you can watch about drug taking in sport, particularly cycling. And the winner is Get Out, one of the most enjoyable and innovative horror films in years by Jordan Peele. So it had to win. 2018, we have Roma. Cuarón makes his one about his homeland, Mexico. Black Klansman, a lot of us will have seen that. The Favourite, Yorgos Lanthimos with Olivia Colman in the lead role as Queen Anne. We have Eighth Grade, probably not watched enough, but it was the comedian, and I can never remember his name, but he made a documentary called Inside something. Bo Burnham, that's his name. He made this, and it's probably underrated. Sorry to Bother You, a really great start, goes mad, but in a good way. Leave No Trace, about a father and a daughter who want to live off the grid, and that's not possible in the States. The authorities will come for you. Widows, which is about Liam Neeson's dying, and his wife, that Viola Davis tries to take on his job of basically being a robber. And I loved it. I heard a lot of bad stuff about it, but I actually really liked it. The Sisters Brothers, which is based on a novel by Patrick DeWitt, and I think it's great. Joaquin Phoenix, John C. Reilly, Riz Ahmed's in it too. It's fun. It's a fun Western. The House That Jack Built, a very weird turn by Matt Dillon as a serial killer murderer, and yeah, it's weird. Blind Spotting, about racism and how we look at the world through our own colored glasses, I suppose, and the idea of, like, we don't look at white people the same as we look at black people, and yeah, it's good. It's quite hard to find, but it's good. If Beale Street Could Talk, Barry Jenkins follow up to Moonlight, great. A Star Is Born, who doesn't know that one? The winner is Hereditary, a horror film again, 2 years in a row. It was great. Toni Collette, how didn't Toni Collette, like, she didn't even get a nomination. She should have won it. Don't make me go on. Don't let me go on about this, because I'll go on for ages. Excuse me. 2019, The Souvenir. Um, Uncut Gems, Adam Sandler, um, on Netflix, really suspenseful. It got me going nearly my panic attacks. That's how suspenseful it is. Midsommar, again, a horror film, but in the bright sun. Sorry we missed you. That's Ken Loach again. Again, very dark. People can't keep up with their bills, and only Ken Loach seems to give a shit about these films, but they're great. Rolling Thunder review, a Bob Dylan story. Martin Scorsese takes on Bob Dylan again. This time it's about his Rolling Thunder review concerts in the 73, 74, and it seemed to be just a bonkers time, but it's on Netflix. You should watch it, even if you're not into Bob Dylan. Us, another Jordan Peele horror, really great. Saint Maud, again, another horror, but this time based in Britain. Sound of Metal, Riz Ahmed plays a drummer losing his hearing. He plays that so well too. The sound effects are great in it too. 1917, the war film. I'd say most of us are aware of it now. American Factory, the one that you should watch, that's on Netflix. It's a documentary, won the best documentary at the Oscars that year. The winner's Parasite. Parasite's one of the best films of the last 10 years, hands down. So South Korean film, that's why it wins. 2020, we're getting there, folks. Dick Johnson is Dead, documentary about documentary maker Rachel Johnson, and her dad has dementia, and she is filming him and how she thinks of ways he would die. And the dad plays the part in it, and he's such a nice man. It's sad to watch, but he's a beautiful man, and their relationship is lovely. His House, which is a British horror film, based about the idea of refugees coming to England and being haunted by their pasts within the walls of their own house, and it's very clever. One Night in Miami, Regina King's making of the idea of Muhammad Ali, Sam Cooke, who else was there? I can't remember the other two, but there was four very, very famous people who met up after a Muhammad Ali fight, and they get kind of into talking about philosophy and arguing about different things, and it's really good. Promising Young Woman, Emerald Fennell's film, with Carey Mulligan, dark, twisted, but yeah, fair. American Utopia, which is David Byrne's concert film, who was in Talking Heads, if you don't know. Well, this time it's him doing the concert film with a group of musicians on stage, and they're walking around with their instruments. It's clever, very good, beautiful music. Another Round, Danish film about, well, basically drinking too much, and Mads Mikkelsen plays the lead role. Judas and the Black Messiah, again about the Black, this one's about the Black Panthers and about the idea of how we're fighting back, and great leads, great Danny Kaluuya, sorry, my bad. And my film for that year is Collective. It's a Romanian documentary about a very famous fire that killed a lot of people, but severely maimed a lot of people, and they're in the film, and they're trying to get justice, as are the filmmakers. A few years on, and you just see these people who are trying to fight for rights of people that they didn't have any. It's a hard watch, but it's a stunning documentary. I remember telling my mum about it, and I was just raving about it. I've watched it a couple of times. It's brilliant, but yeah, check it out. 2021, we have got Licorice Pizza, Paul Thomas Anderson once again. My friend said, I don't even know what it's about. What do you mean? It's not complicated. No, I shouldn't. I shouldn't be having to go people on this podcast because they don't have the mic. They're not here to defend themselves. The remake of West Side Story surprised me. I have it in here. I mean, it's not world class or anything, but it's surprisingly good. I tried not to compare it with the original. The original is one of the greatest films ever made, in many ways. The Last Duel, very disappointing box office for Ridley Scott's The Last Duel. And then I watched it and I thought, that's very, Adam Driver, really good in it. Matt Damon's really good in it. It's got the Rashomon effect where they tell the stories from different points of view. I thought it was really good. I don't know why people didn't watch it. Boiling Point, Stephen Graham. This is one that's done in a one take as well. They're making a TV show about it now, or they have made a TV show about it. But this is all done in the pressure points of a kitchen where he's the chef and he's got his problems and everybody's got their problems. The winner is The Power of the Dog, though, because Benedict Cumberbatch, I wasn't a big fan. I really liked him in The Imitation Game. He was in other stuff and then blah, blah, blah. And then he was in this and he was amazing in this. And Johnny Greenwald's score is exceptional. Jane Campion's direction is great. It's a brilliant film. It's on Netflix. 2022, we've got After Sun, Paul Mescal, a really good film about father and his daughter's relationship and the stuff that he goes through and the stuff that she goes through, I guess. The Banshees of Inisherin, we all know what this is about. I saw in the cinema with my mum. I really liked it. I really enjoyed it. Tar, Kate Blanchett plays the composer, who's a bit all over the place and is not very likable character, but you kind of go along with it. You hang in there. Holy Spider, which is an Iranian film about a true life story about a murderer, a serial killer who it made a lot of problems for the director in Iran because the at the time when the guy was being on trial for the murders of it was sex workers. It was basically the men in society were up for him. They thought he was cleaning the streets of people that shouldn't be there. And when the director made it from the point of view of he's like he is the criminal, the one who's doing the killing, um, they didn't want him in the country anymore. But it's really good. Nope, the Jordan Peele horror film, not quite as horror as his other films, but definitely horror tropes. Elvis, which I actually really liked, I didn't think I would, but it's apart from Tom Hanks's makeup, which is shocking. Empire of Light, especially Olivia Colman, and the scene where the thugs try to get into the cinema, but they're trying to guard it. That's very suspenseful, and obviously there's racism involved in that too. Our very own Irish film, The Quiet Girl, which is just beautiful, like the performances, the direction. I would love to have a chat with someone from that film just to see how it all went down. But the winner is All Quiet on the Western Front. The remakes are never All Quiet on the first All Quiet on the Western Front won the Best Picture Oscar back in 1932, I think it was 31. This had no right to be as good as it was, but it was outrageously good. And I recently, even though it's on Netflix, I recently bought the DVD of it, and I've yet to go back and watch it because it's a tough watch. There's hard scenes in it, as you can imagine, but it's such a good film. It should have done better at the Oscars, really. So 2023, I'll be honest, I haven't seen an awful lot new ones this year, so my list is fairly and I have Air on it, even though I shouldn't be there really. Do you know what? Yeah, here you're seeing this live in Air. There's an edit being done. Air's coming off. I watched Air, and it was about a runner being released. Do you know what I mean? I mean a runner, physical runner, not a runner running around the place, but an actual one you wear on your foot. I have Barbie in it, which I really, really did like. And people were like, really? And I was like, yeah, really. Infinity Pool, which is a very, very dark horror film, but really worth a look if you're into it. And the winner, Joanna, like this, Asteroid City, Wes Anderson, really enjoyed it. It's a lot of fun, weird, great cast, everything you'd want from it. We've got through it. I'm going to read through them even very quickly, okay? And then I'm going to let you go, but you've been very kind for staying here. 1982, King of Comedy. 1983, Terms of Endearment. 1984, Paris, Texas. 1985, Shoah. 1986, Stand By Me. 1987, With Nate and I. 88, Women on the Verge of a Nervous Breakdown. 89, Do the Right Thing. 1990, Goodfellas. 91, The Silence of the Lambs. 92, Reservoir Dogs. 93, Shortcuts. 94, The Shawshank Redemption. 95, oh, hang on, did I miss 95? It's a shambles, isn't it? It's just a mess. I must have missed 95, did I? 95. No, I didn't. I just didn't read the winner. The winner for 95 was Before Sunrise. Bloody hell. Richard Linklater. They made three of them, Before Sunrise, Before Sunset, and Before Midnight. But go and watch them, all of them. They're all beautiful. So 95, sorry, Before Sunrise. 96, Fargo. 97, The Ice Storm. 98, The Big Lebowski. 99, The Blair Witch Project. 2000, High Fidelity. 01, The Royal Tenenbaums. 02, Bowling for Columbine. 03, Old Boy. 04, Dead Man's Shoes. 05, Brokeback Mountain. 06, This Is England. 07, There Will Be Blood. 08, Happy Go Lucky. 09, Dogtooth. 2010, I'm Still Here. 11, A Separation. 12, The Master. 13, Prisoners. 14, Birdman. 15, What Happened, Miss Simone. 16, Moonlight. 17, Get Out. 18, Hereditary. 19, Parasite. 20, Collective. 21, The Power of the Dog. 22, All Quiet on the Western Front. And 23, Asteroid City. If you go and watch all these films, you will lead a very happy few months. All right. Will I probably make a film or an episode where I rank these films? It's more than likely I will in a few episodes' time. But listen, thanks to John for getting us to 199. I want to thank my mom, my dad, my granddad, Jaron Calvin, as usual. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you would, or on Instagram, Facebook, and X. Apple, Spotify, Anchor, Google Podcasts, etc. If you want to send me some of your requests, or not so much some of your requests, but some of your favorite films from certain years, or a full list, or say, listen, I hate Moonlight. Why did you like that? That's all right. Jump on board. If you want to have a conversation, we'll have a conversation. I know. Anyway, it's been lovely to have you here for this long. And go and watch a movie. Enjoy it. Take care. Bye. Why am I taking so long to get off? There we go. Bye.